Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are saying goodbye to the Tier 9 French battleship, the Alsace, and oh boy, the ship. Alright, let's first talk about what map we're on and what teams we're up against. We're playing on Northern Lights, playing the newer version of said map. We have a Midway Kurfürst, Alsace, two Ismos, Tirpitz, Zal, Baltimore, Charles Martel, Kutuzov, Gearing, and a Z46. We are joined by Alpuck in the Z46. On the enemy team, they have a Midway Republic, two Iowas, Musashi, Amagi, Minotaur, Neptune, St. Louis, Megami, C-52, and a Benson. Alright, well, as you can see, we are in essentially a Tier 10 battle. Tier 9 Alsace is not that bad. I have very mixed feelings with this ship. Very mixed feelings. And a few days ago, I had an instance, and it's more due to the team more than anything else, but I had six battles where I just had defeat after defeat after defeat with the ship, and I didn't want to make a video until I've had a little bit of time to cool down, maybe give a better explanation and viewing on the ship. The Alsace, how is she? She's kind of a mixed bag. I don't really know how to otherwise describe it. First off, she has 12 guns. They are essentially the same caliber as the Richelieu, which means you essentially have Tirpitz-sized caliber guns, with high velocity, mind you, in a Tier 9 battleship. So against other Tier 9 and 10 battleships, you are going to have a little bit more difficult time doing decent damage. Not saying it's impossible. You can Citadel, Iowas, and Missouris, and Ismos and whatnot, but the main downside of the ship, and yes, this is a essentially a secondary build, Alsace, is the fact that her dispersion is sporadic. Yes, she has 12 shots. It's nice. You have a lot of shots. But it's extremely sporadic, and as you can see, the Republic's actually firing HE at us. Decent choice, honestly. But the shots are extremely sporadic, and sometimes you can have those just amazing shots from the Alsace, but other times it's every which way, and it's quite annoying. And the caliber kinda is just as bad. It's very lackluster, but the AA on the ship is actually pretty decent, as you will see when we're facing up against the Midway. Pretty decent AA. As you will see, we do shoot down quite a bit of planes, and I will have to say it's very comparable to the Iowa. As far as gameplay, I would say she's very similar to the Iowa and the FDG, as the fact that she does have very good bow tanking. She is very vulnerable to HE due to the thinner armor section throughout the majority of her ship. And ooh, look at this Minotaur. Oh, hello. Looks like he's slowing up. 12 shots out. This nice thing is 12 shots is nice. And there we go. Double Citadel on the Minotaur, and that is one dead Minotaur. And that Minotaur was actually divvied up with the Midway, so it's a good thing we got rid of it. Midway no longer has any AA support. So AA is decent. Secondaries are also kind of a mixed bag. They have really nice range, but the majority of her secondaries are essentially the size of 100 millimeters. So essentially you have Akazuki caliber guns firing HE, and the only real major benefit you're going to get from them is causing fires. Against higher tier battleships, cruisers, and even some destroyers, you're not going to deal a lot of damage with the secondary guns. The best thing you can hope for is fires, and maybe even cause some anxiety from the enemy player being constantly hit by secondaries. And like I said, they're not bad. You have quite a few of them. You actually do have three, I believe they're 152 millimeters, so they do hit pretty hard. There's 152 millimeters, but the smaller secondaries are probably where you're gonna be having the most issue. Now, talked about her guns. Her guns, once again, kind of very sporadic. And let's talk about one obvious thing that makes the French battleship kind of what they are. They're fast. They are very fast. The Alsace is the fastest tier 9 battleship in the game. Decent hit there, 24k. The ability to move around as quickly as she does is very beneficial because you're able to re-support one side of the map relatively quickly, as well as being able to dodge torpedoes that might be coming in. With the engine boost, it does speed up your acceleration, and that does provide additional comfort in knowing that you could possibly outrun torpedoes and possibly dodge them. So very nice as far as that fact. But going back to how I was saying she compares to the FDG and the Iowa is very well known for bow tanking, and Alsace can bow tank. She does show broadside. She is going to get citadel, so do be very careful in that. And as you can see, we do have quite a few battleships over the side, so it's probably a very good idea to actually start turning away and running. And that's one nice thing about the Alsace, is she's good at essentially a cruiser role of turning away and firing at range, firing while you're moving away. It's extremely beneficial for the Alsace to do this. She can bow tank. I'm not saying she can't. She can definitely do that, but she's almost better off almost constantly moving and allowing the secondaries to provide support, especially against a enemy Benson or enemy destroyer or enemy battleship that is trying to push you. So definitely use that for your advantage. And going to the actual ammo type, let's actually talk about that. The HE is decent, but I once again am in the mindset of AP. AP is pretty much the ammo type you almost always want to go with. It's extremely potent, extremely powerful, and deals the most amount of damage. But obviously against this Iowa, it's not always the best idea, but you can actually penetrate through the deck armor of enemy battleships. I have done it against, I believe, another Alsace. Did well over 15k. There we did almost 6k. I mean, it's a tactic you can definitely use. Definitely don't want to aim for the bow or the belt armor. Aim for the upper decks. Get the possibility of penetrating through the deck armor, and you're going to do much more damage than what you normally would do. So speed's decent. Concealment is probably another factor of the Alsace. It is 11.7, I believe. Correct me, I might be wrong on this, but it's not the most stealthiest battleship. Iowas can outspot you. You do have to keep in mind, fortunately you're not outspotted by the FDG, so that is going to provide some manner of comfort, but you're not extremely stealthy, and I would highly recommend not to rely on using your secondaries. Don't rely on your secondaries. Don't go for the secondary battle. It should just complement your main guns, and that's probably, that might be the reason why sometimes I get poor battle experiences, is that I do like getting secondaries, and secondaries are fun. Secondaries are always fun to have, because once again, the main amount of damage you're actually going to get from your secondaries is from the fires that you do cause. And look at that, 5k. Republic secondaries are actually better than the Alsace. She actually has much bigger caliber size secondary, so for her it's not that big of a deal. But for the Alsace, your secondaries are not the best in the world, honestly, if I'm to be perfectly frank. But you have to keep in mind that your secondaries just should not be your mainstay weaponry. So moving on, we've talked about her concealment. Her armor, as I did mention, is essentially very beneficial. It does pretty good job, especially if you bow tank. It's very beneficial to actually kind of flank away, try to keeping your armor at a angle, keep you alive for a lot longer. So anyways, let's see what's happening in this battle. We've stayed majority over here at B, doing pretty good as far as damage, doing a lot of damage against this Republic. Enemy team is essentially losing fairly handily. They are down 6 ships to our 3, so we have a 2-to-1 ratio at the moment. Although we have just lost our Kutuzov, and there we go, took out the enemy Republic with fire, which is something you will see every now and then. And let's see if we can actually get shots on this Iowa that is currently hiding in that island right there. Doesn't look like we got a lot of damage. Did get 1 overpin. One other thing I will have to say, her guns, once again, they're very similar to the Richelieu, which does mean that she will overpin quite a bit. But though I will have to say, because you are fighting essentially higher tier cruisers and battleships, you generally will do more damage with less overpins, which does net you obviously those citadels and those full penetrated shots. But I will have to say, the guns are probably what kind of annoy me, and I've heard mixed bags on this. I've heard both the guns are fantastic, what are you talking about, and I've heard quite the opposite. I actually have one of my clanmates who did a gun build instead of a secondary build like I did, and he still has issues with the Alsace's guns. But it's just going to be one of those things. It is a fun ship. I will have to say, I will fully admit, this is actually a fairly fun ship to play, especially in the right hands. It can do really fantastic job. I've had battles of essentially on this map holding down that D cap against enemy battleships. Not much they can do. The only way you could really dislodge a Alsace is by overpower or outnumbering it, or having a DD to assist, which actually should bring to a point. Her torpedo belt is kind of in the middle. It's kind of mid-range. It's not the best, it's not the worst. So you can take torpedoes, though you will have to keep in mind your health pool is not the greatest. 74,700 for a fully upgraded Alsace. You definitely have a little bit less than most of the other tier 9 battleships, so you do have to pick your battles a little bit more carefully, and that HE damage can definitely rack up and definitely delete you very, very quickly. As well as British AP will also do the damage. But in this battle, battle's actually almost over with. All that's left is this Benson. Let's see if we can get maybe a final salvo on this Benson. I will have to say, because you do have 12 guns, you do have a good chance of hitting a destroyer at that range as long as you lead properly. And that is essentially going to be it. This Benson is now dead. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 417,749 silver, 10,231 XP. We did 152,562 points of damage, 62 shell hits, 12 planes shot down, 3 kills, 4 fires, 3 citadels, and 179 secondary hits. We're top of the team with a base XP of 2,214. Most of our damage was against the enemy Republic. We also took out the enemy Minotaur, did a nice chunk of damage, 21,295. Iowa, we also kind of stole that one with a damage of 9,068. Main batteries did 125,722. Our secondaries did only 4,787. Fires, however, was where most of the damage came from, and that's kind of something you're going to be seeing a lot with the Alsace. 22,053 points of damage. So yes, secondaries don't actually do a lot of damage. It's the fires that they start is where you're going to be getting a lot of your damage. So not a bad battle, but we are going to go ahead and jump into port. I will see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port, and I will have to say the Alsace is kind of a mixed bag. I don't hate her. I don't think she's a downright terrible ship, but I don't think she's a really fantastic, amazing ship. She's, like I said, she's kind of a mixed bag. So let's actually actually go ahead and take a look at the stats. So let's go ahead and take a look at survivability. The health pool on the Alsace is 74,700. She does have a semi-decent armor ranging from 19 to 430 millimeters. But the most major downside for the Alsace is the fact that she is completely covered in 32 millimeters of deck armor, which does make her very detrimental or susceptible to HE slinging cruisers, which is very quick way to end at Davy Jones' locker. So that's something to keep in mind. She does also have a turtleback armor, which is going to help protect her at closer range. And then also she does have a decent torpedo protection at 45%, which should help reduce any damage from torpedoes. Moving on to main guns. The Alsace is the only tier 9 battleship with this many number of guns. She has 3 quadruple 380 millimeters, and that's probably my biggest issue with the ship is the size of the caliber of her guns. 380 millimeters. Keep in mind the Tirpitz and the Bismarck have this size caliber guns, while the Missouri and the Ismo have 406 plus millimeter caliber guns. So she does have a difficult time actually penetrating through some thicker armor. She can do really well against battleships and destroyers, obviously, get good penetration damage against battleships, but she is going to not be able to always punch up as well as you would like her to. The reload time is decent, 26.4 seconds. Turn time on the guns is also very nice, very beneficial to actually have this captain. 33.6 seconds. Max HE shell damage is 5,400 with a 36% fire chance, which is, I guess you could almost say, would be beneficial for her, but honestly, 36% fire chance isn't that great, and her AP is decent all the same. I'm a very big proponent for battleships firing AP. Max AP damage is 11,900. Keep in mind, these are the same guns that you saw on the Rish, and damage hasn't really changed. Velocity hasn't changed. They are fast firing shells, 830 meters per second when leaving the barrel, and she does have a decent range of 20.3 kilometers. However, once again, they are almost very lackluster. And the other thing to keep in mind is the dispersion. The sigma value on this ship is quite erratic. It's quite low. I think it's down around I believe it's around 8 or 9 sigma value, something like that. I'll pop it up here. So keep in mind, dispersion is sporadic, but the only major benefit is the fact that she does have 12 shells, while most other ships have 9 to 8 shells being fired at one time. So that's the only thing really going for her. Now, moving on to the secondaries. This is probably one of the other thing that she is best known for, is having a lot of secondaries. She has 12 dual 100 millimeters, 2.8 second reload time with a max HE shell damage of 1400 with a 5% fire chance and an 11.3 kilometer range. The downside of these guns is the fact that they are 100 millimeters, and more often than not, they're not going to be doing any damage against any destroyers or cruiser. The only time would probably if it actually hits the superstructure, and even then, that is going to have a difficult time to actually damage it, because most superstructures are around 19 millimeters, and guess what? 100 millimeters can't penetrate superstructure armor of 19 millimeters. So the only beneficial thing that these guns can provide is the fire chance. Only thing going for them. Now, she does have bigger secondary guns. She has 3 triple 152 millimeters. They have 11.4 second reload time, very similar to some light cruisers. They do have a max shell damage of 2,200 with a 12% fire chance. So these guns will hit pretty hard, but they fire very, very slowly, and there's only 3 of them. 2 in the rear, 1 in the front. And once again, 11.3 kilometer range. So yeah, her secondaries are kind of a misnomer. You would assume they were just as good as the FDG. However, the FDG has 105 and 150 millimeter secondary guns and a lot more of them. So, only beneficial thing about her secondaries is the fact that she can start fires, and that's probably where you're going to get most of your damage from your secondaries. Moving on to the AA defense. Actually pretty good. Especially if you have AFT, which if you are doing a secondary build like I have done, pretty darn good. Average damage of 10 dual 20 millimeters. You have average damage of 67 with a 2.4 kilometer range. Then you have 12 dual 37 millimeters. Average damage is 160 with a 4.2 kilometer range. Then your secondaries also operate as additional secondary or AA guns. Average damage is 195 with a 6 kilometer range, and then you have 3 triple 27 average damage and a 6 kilometer range. Overall, I will have to say what I've experienced against midways and Hakuryus and tier 9s. AA is pretty decent. Not always gonna shoot down every single plane, but one nice thing going for her is her speed. Her speed is quick. This is with a speed flag, so top speed is 33.6 knots. However, once you pop your engine boost, she can get over 36 knots. So very beneficial. Does make her more agile, makes her able to get around the map a little bit more so. The downside is her turning circle radius, 910 meters. Quite big. Her rudder shift time is lousy, 16.6 seconds. Most tier 9s are going to have a little bit better rudder shift time, not by much, but a little bit better all the same. So you do have to keep in mind she doesn't turn that great, and she has a big turning circle radius. Moving on to concealment. Not that stealthy, 12.6 kilometers. The Missouri, for example, 12.2. I believe the Ismo's a little bit worse than the Alsace, but she's not overly stealthy. She's kind of in the middle. Detectability range by air is 11.7 kilometers, and while firing in smoke is 15.4. Now, however, you can use one nice little thing about the Alsace is hiding in smoke and using your secondaries, because your secondaries don't actually affect your detect range, so you can use that nice little trick if needs be. Moving on to the modules. When getting this ship, I would highly recommend go for the B-hole. Do this first. This improves your AA, improves your health, improves your rudder shift time. Go for this first. However, it's going to be the most expensive, so this is going to take you a little bit more time. If you do not want to do that, obviously, second thing I would recommend is go for the fire range increase. Obviously, gives you more range, lets you sit a little bit further back if needs be. Then, last but not least, obviously, the propulsion modification increases your speed from 31.9 knots to 33. Not overly necessary, but still beneficial all the same. Moving on to the upgrades, I have gone for Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1, increases the health by 100% for your AA and your secondaries, and then I have gone for a survivability / secondary Alsace. Damage Con System Mod 1 reduces chance of fire and flooding. Then for the third, I have gone for the secondary battery modification 2, which increases your range by 20%. You could, I guess, technically opt, and I do have a clanmate that actually went this route. He went for the aiming system mods 1, and he claims that it did nothing for him. So I just went for the secondary battery modification. Just go for the secondaries. Yes, your secondaries won't be able to cause as much damage as you would like, but it can at least cause fire. Moving on to the fourth one. This one is actually quite up for debate. Same clanmate actually went for the steering gears mod 2. His reasoning is that the Alsace and the Republic are going to be battleships that are going to be constantly moving around. The damage comm system mod 2 is, I guess you could almost say, better suited for Iowa's ships that are going to be more stationary, that are going to be hit more often. However, I would like to say that battleships are kind of big and more easy to hit, so I still like having that damage resistance as much as possible. For the fourth upgrade or module, go for the Concealment Systems Mod 1. And last one, the only one I would really recommend is going to be the Main Battery Modification 3. Reduces your traverse speed, however, increases the reload time, which is actually very beneficial to have, so highly recommend that. And last but not least, let's actually take a look at the captain. Oh, I probably should actually point out one more thing. As many people know, the French battleships are equipped with a speed boost. This obviously increases the maximum speed by 8%. She also does get a catapult fighter, which is actually really beneficial. You can only equip that. You cannot equip a scouter plane, so don't expect anything from that. But however, that should help at least spot, even though torpedoes are no longer as easily detected as they used to be, but they should be able to at least spot destroyers or help take out any planes incoming to attack you. Now moving on to our captain. This is the build I have gone for my French battleship. This is obviously up to you. I went for a full secondary build. Priority target, I really do enjoy this skill. Very beneficial if you're going for a secondary to get preventative maintenance. It reduces the chance of incapacitation by 30%. Then for expert marksman, adrenaline rush actually would be extremely beneficial. This is actually part of the captain skill to actually increase the reload time, decrease the reload time of your main arms depending on how much you lose. So this skill is actually very beneficial. Then superintendent, then I have gone for advanced fire and training, concealment expert, and manual control of secondary armaments. Yes, once again, this is designed for a secondary build, and this is very optional to change. But anyways, this is going to be it for this video. We are going to say goodbye to the Alsace, and we are going to move on to the tier 10 French battleship, the Republique. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.